Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself first in your own words and whatever matters to you most?
All right, my name is Abiola Adewusi. I'm the director of Medbarn Agency, and Medbarn Agency is into fertility support services that includes counseling, consulting, third-party reproduction that includes surrogates and donors, alike to patients and clinics that requires it.
And your own background, like how did you get to work in this field?
My background, I'm a medical sonographer by profession.
Mhm.
I've been scanning patients for over 2 decades. And my first work out of school was with a fertility clinic back in the United States.
Mhm.
And I had to coordinate the patients, the IVF patients, and the recurrent pregnancy loss patients
Mhm.
that are being managed by the doctor that I worked with at the time. And that's how come I ended up in this space. So I went for specific special training to be able to coordinate IVF patients and their cycles. And
Mhm.
that's how I ended up in this space.
And you schooled in the US?
Yes, I did.
Why? Why did you go there?
Why did I go there?
Yeah.
Well, it was an option for me. I actually started college in Nigeria,
Mhm.
and when I was almost graduating, I had 2 more years to graduate college when there were lots of political unrest and schools were closing and it was endless and
Mhm.
there was no graduation time in sight. So my parents decided to send me abroad.
Mhm. And you came back to Nigeria after your work there?
Yes, I came back to Nigeria because I wanted to help my people.
Mhm. That's great. And when did your interest in fertility start?
That started in 2001 or 2002, thereabout.
And it was strictly professional because I noticed that also many people working in the field of fertility have some kind
Strictly,
of,
strictly professional, yeah.
because many mention aunts or grandmas or anything that had issues with fertility, and that's
I
why.
actually, I actually never got any exposure to fertility or infertility or
Mhm.
anything until I started working in the space.
I see. And did you found Medbarn or
Yes, I'm the
okay?
owner.
When did you start?
Medban was registered in 2013 while I was
Mhm.
still in paid employment. And of course, with the consent of my boss at the time, I told him what I wanted to do. So I had the vision that this is what I would like to do when I step out of paid employment. And,
Mhm.
you know, that was when it was registered. But I actually activated it full time in year 2000.
I see. And now maybe about your clients, could you describe them?
My clients pretty much streamlined. My clients are strictly patients that seek fertility treatment.
Mhm.
So be it, whatever services they require, whether it's counseling, whether it's consulting, whether it's, the need for third party treatment, they're all seeking fertility treatment. Those are my clients.
Mhm.
And of course, the ecosystem includes the surrogate themselves, the egg donors themselves, and the patients and the clinics that refers patients to us.
Mhm. Can you give names of the clinics you work with, or would you like to keep that confidential?
I have very many. I think that I don't know. I suppose it's not a big deal, really. I can name them, but I don't know if they would mind. So
Yeah.
I can name them and then double check with them before you do your publication. So
Yeah,
if
sure.
you're not comfortable with it, then we will take them out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll hand over to the operations manager to name them.
Mhm.
All right. You can name the clinics that we 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 take care of.
All right.
And you know she's not expecting it. I'm putting her
I'm
on the
sorry. I know the feeling as a PhD student.
Okay, we have clinics in Lagos and also in Abuja that we
Yeah,
work with. Yeah,
maybe
in
just
Lagos, we
in,
have Bridge Clinic, we
yeah,
have George's Memorial
yes.
Hospital, we have Origin
Origin.
Fertility Clinic. Yes, here in Lagos.
Mhm.
Then in Abuja, we have Dida Hospital, and we also have Bridge Clinic in Abuja as well.
So I talked to which clinic in Georges and they referred you. So maybe that's like good to know for you too.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
I see. And about your clients, the couples, are they mostly based in Lagos or Abuja or all around Nigeria or also abroad?
We have client base everywhere, all over the world, actually.
Mhm.
We have predominantly, we have patients come from diaspora,
Mhm.
UK, US, Canada, Austria, Ireland. They're just from all over, to be honest. And then,
Mhm.
of course, we have our Nigerian-based clients, and majority are from Lagos, and some are in Abuja.
I see. And could you talk about the main reasons why they opt for surrogacy?
Well, the only reason that is acceptable to explore surrogacy is if it's medically
I
indicated.
see. Yeah.
So the doctor would have recommended that option, and the option is usually a last resort option.
Mhm.
So it's never the first option in fertility treatment. It's
Yeah.
always the last option. So that would be the only reason why we will be engaged to recruit a surrogate for a patient.
And is that your own policy or?
Yes, that's our policy. Yes.
I see. And for egg and sperm donation, the same.
So egg and sperm donation is kind of a little bit unique in the sense that we do get more of surrogate requests than egg and sperm. I
Mhm.
know that there's some agencies that specializes in sperm, sperm banks. And
Mhm.
so if I have a patient that requires sperm, then I refer them to the other agencies that have, a very large cryo sperm bank.
Mhm.
And yes, we do get the details for them, to have them decide, but usually they, deal directly with those agencies. But for the egg donors, because we recruit, and stimulate the donors live, we do have special requests from majority of the clinics get their donors directly. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in cases where patients want to, have some kind of identifying features about the donor that they're using, they want to participate in the selection process, they refer them
Mhm.
to us. So when they do that, we will, recruit the donor, screen the donor, give the patient, multiple options to select from. And once they make their selection, we send them to the hospital for vetting.
Mhm.
Usually the hospital likes to vet whoever we send to them, be it donors or surrogate, before they actually use them for the treatment. And of course, they do the hormonal profile, they do all the communicable diseases, which we do too, because if it's not within the parameters that we want it to be, we will not send them to the clinic for the patients rather.
Yeah.
So basically, I think the difference is that, some patients would like to see the profile of their donors before, they we send them to the hospital. That's why they come to us.
I see. And do you have cases where the surrogate is also the egg donor? Or is that
Never, no.
okay? Okay.
So it's purely gestational surrogacy. We
Yeah.
do not use the eggs of the surrogates
Mhm.
or treatment. At no point do we do that. That's our policy, and that's usually what the guidelines and regulations indicate.
Yeah.
Because we
Oh,
have an association as well that
okay.
gives us guidelines.
Yeah. Which because I've realized that there's not many legal regulations in Nigeria
There's
regarding.
none. There's
Yeah.
none. There's no legal parameters for
Yeah.
ART in Nigeria, and we are working very, very closely with the Chairman Committee on Health, or that wants
Mhm.
to pass legislation on surrogacy in Nigeria, and we're working very closely with him to make sure that it covers everything ART altogether, including surrogacy as well. So that's work in progress.
Do you know why there's no legal frame until now? Was it not a priority
To be
or?
honest, this is not the first time that a legislation has been pushed,
Mhm.
in this space. This is not the first time. I know as far back as 2015, 2016, some senator that was chairing the Committee on Health also wanted to push regulations on ART in Nigeria, but somehow, I guess because the um he did not come back, he wasn't re-elected. it died a natural death because, it's usually pushed by politicians and, politically inclined. So if you're not careful, you may not see the light of day for that legislation. So, it is what it is. But I know we'll get there one day. So, I mean, at least we're working on it. People are interested, and it's a space that we would like to regulate as well, because there's so many things going on that we know. People are just doing whatever they want just because there are no laws.
Yeah. Do you think there's agencies who take advantage of that lack of legal frames?
Well, yeah, definitely. Some agencies will take advantage of it to do whatever it is that they, feel they want to do.
In your own opinion, which would be the major priorities for regulations?
Well, ART, period, because to be honest with you, surrogacy is part of ART, and surrogacy is just one item in ART, assisted reproductive technology. So there is no way you can talk about one and leave the other out. Okay, so some people like this, when we're talking about now, passing the legislation for surrogacy is focused on surrogacy, but surrogacy cannot be in isolation. Surrogacy is a child of ART. So you cannot separate them. It's like mother and child. You cannot separate them. So you cannot just take surrogacy by itself, because surrogacy cannot happen by itself. I mean, we're not talking about traditional surrogacy. We're talking about gestational surrogacy. So it cannot happen without ART.
And more about specifics in Nigeria. Can you say anything about the uptake or about the frequency of surrogacy?
Maybe well, in recent times. So to be honest with you, I came back to Nigeria in 2006. 2006, I came back to Nigeria. That's how many years ago?
Almost 20. Wow.
Yeah, almost 20 years. So when I came back, the first thing I noticed was that the general public really don't understand what that concept is about. When you talk to patients and say, oh, you might require donor egg or surrogate. And the first question I asked my boss at the time was, do you have agencies that, we can source donors and surrogates from? And the answer is none exist. I think that was when I had the epiphany that, what, if none exists, then that means, the awareness is really not there. And we need this. There is a need that we need to provide this aspect of ART to our patients. So I think I'd started thinking about it that time, and then I finally registered my company in 2013. So then that means it took me about 7 years to actually get my company registered for this purpose. And so it was very, very primitive at the time. Even then, when we use surrogates for patients, some patients still try to act like they're pregnant, even though it's the surrogate that is pregnant, so that they would not have the hold on one second, please. Sorry about that. I'm just questioning.
Anytime you need to take a break.
It's just going back and forth like a yo-yo. I don't understand what you're looking for. Anyway, so what I was saying is, back then they will pretend that they're pregnant so that they're not stigmatized, and think that they've gone to buy babies, because of course we know that there's a big business in baby making factory. And they would pretend that they're pregnant, so they would use baby bonds, and until the surrogate delivers, and then they would take the baby bump out. And some people would even induce lactation, so that they can breastfeed baby, and just act like they're the one that gave birth to the child, so that there are no stigmas on the child. But as time went by, patients started, with more education and awareness, at least in Lagos. I'm not talking about, the countrysides. There is more acceptance, more and more acceptance. So surrogacy is gaining more acceptance now, as opposed to when I first got back to Nigeria to do this in 2006. People are starting to understand the concept. They're starting to embrace it. They're starting to accept it as a form of treatment in ART. So you don't see a lot of pretenses about, oh, I'm the pregnant one. I am I'm expecting a baby, and then when the baby comes, the bump goes away. No, most of the people that we engage don't even bother using baby bumps anymore in this day and age. They talk about it freely. They tell people freely. They're very, very confident about it. They're not ashamed to talk about it, that they use the surrogate. Refer and recommend other people to explore that option if they cannot, for any reason, carry babies on their own. And of course, the indication for surrogacy is very clear. You know, once you've been identified to need a surrogate medically for any reason, whether it's health, congenital, you know, whatever the case may be, that you are considered a risk to yourself, then they would recommend surrogacy. And, you know, for some people, you know, they're up in age, you know, and they just feel like, you know what, my health is not strong enough to go through this pregnancy thing, and, you know, let's explore surrogacy if they're up in age.
And do you know what changed? Like, why did people used to hide it, but now they are more
awareness. I think, you know, just like we're talking now, and I'm also going to take permission for this recording to be used by my staff as well, if
Yeah, of
that's
course.
okay.
Yes.
The more we talk about it, the more enlightened people are. So with the social media age, a lot of information are being put out there, and the stigma for using a surrogate for your treatment is slowly eroding, especially in the cosmopolitan areas. You know, in the rural areas, maybe not. You know, maybe it will still be a strange thing, which is the majority, by the way, because Lagos is just one city in Nigeria. Nigeria has over 200 million people. So we're talking about, you know, just like a drop in the ocean. So the awareness is there. We're talking more about it. It's gaining more acceptance. A lot of patients in diaspora understands that, okay, I can go through this as an option for my treatment because I've had, you know, several miscarriages. I'm not able to carry pregnancies. My cervix is incompetent, or, you know, I have very bad scarring after surgery. Implantation cannot happen. You know, what's my next hope or my chance? So I think, you know, more and more people are getting educated, and they're, you know, opening up to understand that this is actually a valid option to conception.
And can you also talk about the reasons of the surrogates to do it?
Sorry?
The motivation of the surrogates themselves.
All right, so the motivation of the surrogate is multifaceted. Okay, so the number one reason will be for all the altruistic reason, and I say that with all sense of responsibility, because, you know, when people want to push the negative narrative, they talk about it as if, oh, the surrogates are being exploited. They're, you know, they're being forced to do what they don't want to do. They give them peanuts or nothing. They just do all kinds of stuff. The truth of the matter is that for someone to put up themselves to be a surrogate for you, in her mind, she wants to help. That's the number one thing. And that's the only reason why I would always say there has to be some altruism at the back of the mind of that surrogate. So she must want to do it for altruistic reason, and that is, I want to help this person complete their family, or, you know, assist someone to be able to experience the joy of parenthood. And then comes the perks of having to take care of the surrogate while she's putting herself through this arduous task of carrying pregnancy for someone, because we have to make sure she's comfortable. We have to make sure that the loss of her time is compensated. We have to make sure that her family is taken care of. We have to make sure she's in a good place. We have to make sure that she clothes and feed well. I mean, all those things are something that naturally one will do for themselves. And when you're a surrogate, you're basically putting your life on hold for the period of time you're going through this. So they have to be taken care of.
Yeah, and to me, it's also a matter.
Yeah, you cannot engage someone to go through this for you and just leave them in the lurch, or just have them go and sort themselves out. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and it's still work, like it's reproductive work, so I think it has to be
Exactly.
acknowledged, and it's not like paying them is not the same as exploiting them, but
Exactly.
acknowledging its work actually. Can you talk about how much they get, or is that something that
Well, on the average, okay, so what happens is that different agencies and different clinics pay differently.
Mhm,
So I can only speak for myself. I cannot
mhm,
speak for any clinic or any other agencies. The total fee that is involved from start to finish, if a patient were to engage a surrogate for an IVF treatment, you're looking at a minimum of 15 million naira from start to finish. And that doesn't include the unexpected expenses like
mhm,
hospitalization and, maybe if the child comes prematurely or the children comes prematurely, although the hospital expenses is not including the standard expected expenses. So you're looking
mhm.
at give or take average 15 million naira from start to finish. It could be a little less, it could be a little more. It depends on what your experience is with your surrogate. Because some surrogates are in and out of the hospital because they have morning
Yeah,
sick. It's called hyperemesis. You cannot control it. It's a natural thing that the surrogate is going through. And if she's very weak, you have to take her to the hospital. She has to get better before she goes back home. If she's not feeling good, she goes back to the hospital until
mhm,
she feels better. Some, they don't even go to the hospital until they're ready to put to bed. So it just
yeah.
depends. Yeah.
Are all your surrogates mothers already, or can they also be pregnant for the first time as a surrogate?
No, 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 no. So the universal guideline
Mhm,
says a surrogate can only qualify to be one if she has put to bed, carried pregnancy successfully to term,
mhm,
a healthy pregnancy successfully to term, at
mhm,
least one, maybe
mhm.
two, maybe three, but you cannot use anybody that has never been pregnant
And is there a
before.
limit, like is it okay to have more than 3 children already? Or
If a surrogate has 3 kids, yes, she can be a surrogate. That means she can only be a surrogate 1 or 2 more times because
I
once
see,
you have 5 kids, no more. You're
I
done.
see. Yeah.
You're no longer qualified. Yeah.
So then during the time of pregnancy, the surrogate is taken care of and her family too.
Technically, because if you're taking care of the surrogate, you're taking care of the family
Yeah.
because it just trickles down.
Mhm.
So, the focus is on the surrogate though. But I'm assuming if the
Yeah.
surrogate is fine and the
Yeah,
family's,
definitely. And do
yeah.
they stay at home with their families or do
They
they
stay at
change?
home. Yes, they stay at home. My agency do not house surrogates. We have too many surrogates that are pregnant. We don't want to be misconstrued as a baby making factory.
I see.
And
Yeah.
we also don't believe in putting them in one cluster. They're not increasing, they're only
Mhm.
helping. So we think that psychologically, physically, emotionally, if they're around loved ones, they do better.
Yeah. And it's not an issue for them maybe with their profession or their occupation.
Well, most of our surrogate mothers have work that does not really exert them or take them, to different places.
Mhm.
They usually have work that, is easily accommodating to what they do. So
I
it's
see.
never a problem. That's part of the
Yeah,
screening process that we do. Well.
I see. And can you give a rough number of what the surrogate earns at the end of it? Like how much money does she take away from it?
Well, a surrogate can easily walk away with about altogether, maybe about 3.5 thereabout,
Mhm.
or a little bit more, because some of the intending parents would give additional money
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I
to
see.
support.
Because I was in a
So then
panel
they
in a
would,
conference last year, and then we had some anthropologists working on surrogacy in the US and some in Ukraine, and there were stark differences already. And I never hear any African
yeah,
perspective, so it's very interesting to also get
yeah,
knowledge from
yeah.
here.
So the intending parents sometimes, give extra.
Mhm.
Most of them actually do extra. So, between
Yeah,
3.5 and 5 thereabouts.
I see. And
But that extra is cheap, so
yeah,
it's up in the air.
yeah. And do you also handle the legal contracts between parents and surrogates?
Yes, yes, we assist in coordinating the legal end of things. So the way we do it at our agency is that we get the legal agreement drafted and we share with the intended parents, and they look at it and we discuss it, and whatever wordings or terms they're not comfortable with, depending on where they're from, we can modify it a little bit to suit the the country of
Exactly, yeah.
residents. Yes.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah, but most of it is truly the same. The content doesn't change. It's
Mhm.
only the wordings or the terminologies that may change.
And what else do you do to ensure the safety of both surrogates and parents?
Well, the truth of the matter is that we monitor our surrogates very closely to make sure that they're fine, they're doing what they're supposed to do. And of course, we're available 24/7 to take their calls to make sure that, they're fine at any given point in time. And we also give very up-to-date feedback to the intending parents, because we are the ones acting as their eyes and their ears here. They're not here. They're not dealing with the surrogates directly because it's strictly anonymous.
Yeah.
So we give them the feedback of what's going on at every given point in time,
Mhm.
so that, if their attention is needed, especially when they have to go to the hospital for any reason, at least they're aware. And if everything is fine, they're also aware and their mind can be at rest that things
Yeah.
are progressing
Yeah,
well.
true. Do you also follow up after delivery? Do you
Yes,
know
we
about
do.
stories
Yes,
where
we do.
they might contact each other at some point, or is that off limits?
Well, for us, I mean, we haven't had any issue where surrogates and intended parents contact each other, but we do follow up with our surrogates even after birth. We
Mhm.
actually have a community of old surrogates that we have, and we communicate with from time to time to see how they're doing and encourage them to continue to, progress in what they're doing. We also, during the period of being a surrogate, we have talks with them. We bring them in to, talk to them and, discuss, what they plan to do and how they plan to go about it. We advise them and we give them ideas on what, they can do to make sure that at least they come out of this space a better person. Yes, they've helped someone to have a baby. That's the biggest gift anybody can give. But as far as they're concerned as an individual, they need to be able to step out of the space and, feel very good about themselves, like supporting themselves with the little that they have,
Mhm.
from.
Yeah. And in the 2 years I'm schooling in uni like now, I've also heard some rumors that there's also students working as surrogates. Can you confirm that? Or
Well, I don't think we have any students working as surrogates, but we are very, very much interested in students that can be egg donors. If they donate eggs, and it's definitely an option for us. But I don't have any. Well, I mean, they may exist, but I don't have any, because we don't use anybody that hasn't delivered, and it's very
Yeah.
rare for you to see a student that has had a baby. Very rare. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's not very common.
Yeah, thank you.
So unless some clinics are taking on people that have not given birth before, I don't know. I mean, that's part of the reason why we actually want this space regulated, because some people may be working outside the scope of regulation.
I agree, yeah. Yeah. Can you say something about the general family ideals people have both in Nigeria and in the diaspora?
General family ideals. Okay,
Yeah.
so it varies from person to person.
Yes.
Like I said, a lot of people are now opening up their minds. But recently, I had a TV interview, a
Oh, wow.
very interesting one, that vehemently campaigned against surrogacy and egg donation.
Mhm.
They actually used the word, it's evil, and there's no way you can regulate evil. And some people feel very strongly against it, and some people are open-minded about it. We even have some learned, educated, I mean, these are learned people. These are not illiterates. These are doctors and lawyers and, people that you would think would understand this space. But unfortunately, some people have their values. I can't fault them. Religious beliefs, traditional beliefs, individual beliefs. To each his own. I mean, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But you cannot say that it's a bad thing just because you think it's a bad thing.
Mhm.
Even WHO, the World Health Organization, has defined infertility as a disease. So, of course, I mean, if you're not able to have babies and you desire to have babies to complete your family, you have every right to explore those options. But
Mhm.
for the people that don't believe in it, they don't believe it's your right. They believe it's a gift from God. So if God decides not to give you the gift, too bad, you know. That different train of thought.
Do you also have single mothers opting for sperm donation or surrogacy, or is it always couples?
So for sperm donation, yes, couples do explore the sperm donation option, and singles now, I think I've been seeing a lot of singles now opting for donor sperm options just because they're moving up in age and Mr. Right refused to come and they want to have their babies.
So you also take single women as clients?
Yes, single women, yes.
Do you think surrogacy is also getting more popular now that more women are postponing children?
Definitely. But that's not the only reason why surrogacy is popular. I would say ART is more popular because women are delaying childbirth. But then, because there's some young women that require surrogacy
Yeah, definitely.
because surgery went bad. Basically, I've had many patients that went for fibroid surgeries and their womb had to be taken out to save their lives. So it's not because they're old, it's because life happened.
Yeah.
Life happened.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that surrogacy is not popular because women delayed childbirth. I think I would say ART is more popular now because women delay childbirth. So you have them coming in to seek that as an option to complete their family, but then they're coming at an old age. And, sometimes the old age can also affect the line of treatment that they receive, which is also including surrogacy.
Yeah. Is it more people coming from the diaspora for financial reasons, or do you think moving abroad is also?
Well, I don't want to say they're coming for financial reasons, but to be honest with you, I think they are coming for financial reasons because surrogacy in America and the UK are just unreachable, extremely expensive. So if you're comparing the cost of surrogacy abroad to the cost of surrogacy back home, which is Nigeria here, it's like day and night. It's not even comparable. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think moving abroad can also somehow disrupt life courses or also be a reason to postpone children.
Yeah, because I mean, when you emigrate and relocate, you want to find your feet, and it takes time.
Exactly.
Some people it takes up to 10 years before you can find your feet. And while you're trying to survive, you're not thinking of having babies. When you have settled down there, you start to think, oh, by the way, I need to start having babies. And by that time, it's a tad too late. So
yeah. And is gender an important topic for your clients? Do they have any preferences?
Not really. Yes, we have maybe one or two, but not really. Majority of my client base are they just want to have a baby, a healthy baby. Gender is never an issue at all. No, they just want to have a healthy child.
Yeah. And how many children would they like to have ideally?
They usually like to have two, and two, but most of them are lucky, they get two. And some of them, end up with one and they're quite happy with the one.
Yeah. Do you have any regulations about multiple pregnancies? Because you could earn
There are none. There are none. But, like I said, the Association for Fertility and Reproductive Health, which I happen to be the second vice president, has guidelines that, regulates the members of the association. So in the guidelines, the standard is to not transfer more than 3 at any given point in time, but at least 2, because Nigeria, because the direct fee for service, most patients do not smile at single embryo transfer. They don't want it unless that's the only option they have.
Yeah.
I've had a few patients, very, very few patients say they want only 1 embryo at a time, but you don't get many. Many of them want 2 or 3 transferred. But in our surrogate at Medbarn agency, we don't let more than 2 embryos into our surrogates, not more than 2.
I see. I think I have just one more follow-up question because you mentioned that several times, and I've also heard it before, the term baby making factory. Can you tell me where it came from and what it implies?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I got to hear about it in the news for the first time. And then, of course, a lot of people talk about it. And I mean, I thought it was quite strange. But then, we have a lot of people turn up at the clinic that they're pregnant and they have a very big tummy, and it's a real tummy. This is not baby bump. And that the hospital that they went to told them never to go anywhere to have a scan or a blood test done for the pregnancy. And then the spouse will probably insist you have to go and get a pregnancy test done. And then when we do the scan, there's no baby.
Mhm.
So, a lot of people walk around with cryptic pregnancy because they think they're pregnant or they're told they're pregnant, but they go to the one hospital to do everything. They are forbidden from going anywhere else. And then when it's time for them to have the baby, the hospital will call them, it's time for you to come and have your baby. And they will go through the process. I don't know what they go through, but they end up with a baby. So, I mean, it's either the baby fell from heaven or, they got the baby from someone that just delivered and handed it over to
Yeah.
a person that, thought she was pregnant, but she actually wasn't. And, this is not the only instance where people find it. People have flown abroad. They want to go and have their babies abroad. And then they get to the hospital and the hospital, clocking them, doing a scan and saying, hey, woman, there's no pregnancy here. There's no baby to be delivered here. And she's all up in shock and, things like that. So the baby making factory people, they kind of, I want to use the word, hypnotize their patients to believe that they're pregnant, pump them up with hormones so that they can have the pregnant woman appearance. And then when they come for antenatal, I don't know what they show them or what they do to them. And then, some people they carry the pregnancy for 2 years. They carry the pregnancy for 1.5 years. You're still pregnant. Don't worry. It's just not ready yet. I don't know. I mean, it's a very weird thing that I thought is the most ridiculous thing anybody can buy into. How can I not be able to go to another hospital to do a pregnancy test or a scan for that matter? You understand what I mean? I mean, that should be the red flag for anybody. But like that, maybe they've been hypnotized and, they've been forbidden. You cannot go anywhere else. If you go somewhere else, your pregnancy will just disappear or something. I don't know what they're told, but yeah, they exist. Unfortunately, there are many, many of them like that.
Yeah, I see. Would you like to add anything? Maybe any question I forgot that's important to you?
Well, I mean, I don't have any questions. I think we pretty much covered all the bases for our space. And I think that, what I would like to say is that I'm quite happy that you are doing the research, in this space. The truth of the matter is that, as Nigerians, I think we're too focused on the clinical aspect of things that we lose track of the research aspect of things, to be honest. And I do know that they have an IVF unit in Unilag. I don't know if you've been able to meet with Professor Abiola Adewusi and his team, because I think he's the head of that department.
Yeah, I also did research in the maternity center within Unilag. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, so it's a very good thing. So I wish you all the best, and I look forward to the outcome of this research.
Thank you. But 1.5 more years, so
no problem. Right. I wish you all the best. 1.5 years will come like now. So
I know. I'm scared already.
No, don't be scared. You'll be fine.
If you can think of
anyone, and I hope Nigeria is treating you well.
I love it. It's been 2 years, and I like it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.